Hello there, and welcome to UK Diesel Electric Railway Modelling and another Q&A session. So, hope everyone's having a good day today. I've been doing a bit of research just to make sure I can help people. And, one of the interesting things about, being transgendered takes a bit more time to just get ready for a broadcast. I can't just, brush my hair, make sure I look a bit smarter, and then just turn on the camera. Not quite as easy anymore. But I spent several hours beforehand preparing some bits and bobs, ready for some of the questions that have been asked. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with something that was asked about by someone in the YouTube Railway Modelling YouTube community group. From David Jones. So he asked me about did I know, let's have a look. Looking at my next project, a bit looking loosely based upon North Wales up to Llandudno. I found there used to be ballast in Flas, but can't find much around the 1990 2000s. Just wonder if you know any regular freight workings in that area or suggested websites. So I've got a couple of things. First of all, I can talk about what happened beforehand. So I've got this book here, which is a very good book. There's 3 of them, and all of them are useful because, of course, you get a lot of cross-regional trains. So it's good to sort of see what route they take and what they produce and how things get moved around. So this is a little bit dated by the because he asked about 1990, but I might as well just read it out because other people might find it easy. So you've got some good pictures and things. So it says, since 1970, the freight scene in Holyhead has been dominated by the container terminal situated adjacent to the passenger station and on the east side of the harbour. There are daily freight liner workings between Holyhead and Manchester, Trafford Park, Birmingham, Lawley Street, and London, Willesden and Stratford, with a fourth working to and from Crewe Basford Hall for connections with other trunk services. Now, this stuff all disappeared in, I think it was 1991, if I remember correctly. Hi there, Richard, and hi, Valley Brook. Also on the Isle of Anglesey is the Associated Octels chemical plant at Amwich. A lot of stuff is in Welsh. I may get some of the words wrong. So now the sole source of revenue on the BR's 17-mile branch from Gairwen. It was in honour of the Associated Octel traffic that 31296 was named Tren Newyddion Amwich Freighter, a nameplate that was then later moved to 47330 when Rougher Distribution stopped using Class 31s on Speedlink services. That would have been about 1989, I think it was. They all went to mostly the departmental sector after that. In September 1986, event that was attracted much publicity in this normally quiet part of the world. In 1988, the staple freight service is provided by a daily block train from Ellesmere Port to Amwich and back. For operating purposes, both workings are recessed for several hours at Llandudno Junction Yard, but no traffic is normally detached or attached there. The main commodities conveyed on this service are liquid chlorine from Ellesmere Port to Amwich and ethylene dibromite from Amwich to Ellesmere Port, together with lesser quantities of bromine from Amwich, destined for mainland Europe. And they had a number of ferry wagon type tanks used for it, 2-axle ones. At the time of writing, which is, like I say, 1988, or possibly 89, Amwich receives raw sulphur from Mostyn Dock by rail, including using an elderly fleet of HJV hopper wagons. If you've ever seen the layout Mostyn, they've got a really nice rake that they've done, and of course it's P4, so it's really good quality. These trains are not timetabled, and their operation depends on the arrival of ships at Mostyn. When they do run, the journey is usually broken at Llandudno Junction, with the scheduled commuter trains already mentioned already. It seems likely that the Mostyn to Alnwick traffic will cease in 1988 or early 89, possibly to be replaced by a new flow of liquid sulphur from Runcorn, Holly Lane. Pembermore quarries have been producing ballast for over a century, and traffic levels remain high in 1988, with 3 scheduled departures each day. Revenue earning traffic from Pembermore was recently limited to a weekly vacuum brake train to Salford, Hope Street, in March 1987. However, a new arrangement came into operation where the Hope Street flow is covered by the resources from Peak Forest Washwood Heath circuit. 2 Class 37 locomotives and a rake of RMC PHA hopper wagons. Hopper wagons. Initially, Pembermore to Hope Street working ran in place of the Washwood Heath train each Friday, but traffic levels to Washwood Heath have been increased, and since 1988, the train is scheduled to serve Washwood Heath as normal on Friday morning, and then proceed empty to Pembermore, loaded to Hope Street and back to Peak Forest. Another flow was starting in 1987 is from Pembermore to Ashbury's, routed via Crewe in both directions. These trains run 4 times a week with a Class 47 motive power and POA wagons. So those are the ones that you may have seen. They're like TTA tank chassis with ARC, or the limpet wagons are the same type, but they've got a slot cut in the side, so if they get overfilled, the ballast will fall outside. 3 further company trains run along the North Wales coastline. One brings petroleum coke once a week from Emmingham Humber Refinery to Holyhead Anglesey Aluminium, using a dedicated fleet of covered hopper wagons. The second operation conveys nuclear flask traffic for Wilfer and Trewysfynid. Bloody Welsh. What is it with the Welsh? Are they allergic to vowels? Anyway, power stations. A thrice weekly trunk train runs from Sellafield to Valley, where a road connection is made to and from Wilfer, while transfer traffic is detached at Llandudno Junction and taken along the Conway Valley in a separate trip working. Thirdly, the eastern end of the coastline, coal is forwarded from the last covered pit in North Wales at the Point of Ayr. Now, Point of Ayr, I thought was really interesting because it used to be really deep, but actually go out into the under the estuary, so it was like under the sea, effectively, into the Irish Sea. This usually takes the form of a daily train to Fiddler's Ferry, hauled by a pair of Class 20 locomotives, but other destinations may be served from time to time, such as Oakley ICI and Ironbridge Power Station. All Speedlink traffic to and from the North Wales coastline is conveyed in a daily working from Warrington to Llandudno Junction and back. Some of the traffic is for Llandudno Junction itself, while distribution to other terminals in North Wales is affected by 2 trip workings. One is known as Target 92, serves Bangor and Holyhead, generally leaving Llandudno Junction in the early morning and returning around lunchtime. Traction is usually provided using the Class 47 from 7D14. The other trip working, Target 90, is an afternoon train from Llandudno Junction to Maintwog road sidings, running only when required. A fair amount of variety from merchandise is carried by Speedlink in North Wales. The freight depot at Llandudno Junction opened in 1991 to replace services lost elsewhere in the A55 construction works. Receives fuel oil from Stanlow. There's a stable. There used to be a little depot there, so this is depot fuel for units and the odd loco. Receive fuel oil from Stanlow, domestic coal from South Wales and the Midlands, and since summer 1988, incoming timber from Chichester. Steel for the A55 is handled at both London Junction and the purpose-built terminal at Conway. Obviously, when the motorway was built, that stopped happening. While Conway Morpher is also the destination for cement from Pennyfiord and train loads of sand in Widnes. Mountvog Road is the rail forwarded terminal for explosives traffic from, oh gosh, here we go, Penward. Oh my gosh, this is just, bloody Welsh. Look, I don't know if you can see this. That's what I'm trying to read there. Crikey. I'm not even going to try. Although it's understood that this will cease shortly. Bangor Goods Yard acts as a receiving depot for Blue Circle cement from Hope, and there's also Circle cement traffic from Penfield and Clitheroe. The Anglesey aluminium plant, as has been mentioned above, is receiving blockloads of petroleum coke. Speedlink traffic includes aluminium billets for mainland Europe and small quantities of inward chemicals. Holyhead is itself to a Stockton haulage terminal, handling general merchandise for Ireland, albeit on a much reduced scale compared to the Stranraer operation. Fuel oil is conveyed by Speedlink to Holyhead Locomotive Service Depot. There you go, that was that. So that's it in, the sort of 19... in sort of 1988. But when I had a little chat with him, with David Jones, I forgot that I have these. I have a couple of these working timetables that I got from Guybridge Signal Box back in, and this is in November 96 to January 97. And then I've got another one for the next one, which is March to 31st of May 1997. So I'm going to just going to go through. So he was asking about the sort of EWS type of era, which is slap bang in the middle of it. So hi there for everyone who has joined. So I've got Bishop's Grove, Barnabas, Hunts, and Huntshead. So thank you very much. Hello, thanks for watching. So we have, so this section is the crew to Holyhead and branches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the, so at the 6M43, 2236, Friday only, Humber Oil Refinery, and that goes to Holyhead. Then we've got a light diesel from Garston Church Road to Crewe. So yeah, that basically goes from Chester in this section. We've got Arpley sidings to Valley. So that's the 6041, starts at 6:09 a.m. Is a Tuesday, Friday only. Then we've got the Healy Mills service, so that is 6M62 0438, Tuesday, Thursday only. And that who's LH? Oh, Load Hall. That'll be Load Hall. So the previous one was Transrail Freightliner or something. Who's FL? I'm not sure. But that one goes as far as Moston Docks. So the Healy Mills to Moston Docks. That's that one. That will go fit within his part. So we've then got Arpley sidings 7D30, starts at 5:04 a.m. Arpley sidings is Saturday accepted, so everything but Saturdays. And then that goes to Penma Moor. So we'll be talking about usually something like a class 47, possibly a 37, not very likely, but probably a 31, maybe a pair of 31s. So that would start at Arpley sidings, Warrington. and then gets in at to Pembermore Quarry at 9:15. Then we've got the 0094, which is Crewe Basford Hall. Starts at 7:55. Saturday accepted. That just goes to Crewe. I don't know where that goes. I think it goes from Basford Hall to Crewe. So we've got an oil depot terminal going to Hooton, but that doesn't go to Llandudno Junction. So I'm trying to answer his question specifically. So we've got the 6002 0601 Edge Hill Gullet to Pembermore Quarry. That gets in 11:35. Again, almost certainly going to be class 31s or pair of them usually. 6002, same one, but okay, the timings are a little bit different. So yeah, I don't know why they're on at the same time. So then we got Guybridge Brookside Sidings. That's the 6006, leaves at 10:03 and arrives at Pembermore Quarry. So that'll be the empties because it will pick up and then go back to Guybridge most likely. And that's the 13:30. I live near Guybridge, so that does kind of put it in there. So hey Blue and hello Leicester TMD. And then we've got the return stuff. So this is there's nothing else there that goes to Llandudno. And then still nothing there. And now we've got the other way, which is the Holyhead end coming back towards Crewe. And of course, what they'll do is they'll go down to Chester and then we'll go up towards, Arpley, Manchester, Liverpool. Paul might like to turn around at Chester. Things like that. Anyway, so we've got nothing early. So the first thing at Llandudno Junction is the 0601 Edge Hill to Gullet to Pembermore Quarry. Wait a minute. Am I going the right way here? No, that still says that. Saturday accepted, operated by Transrail. And it starts at Llandudno Junction. I'm not sure how that one works. So we've got the 7F11 to Arpley Sidings. Starts at Pembermore Quarry at 11:03 and gets into Chester at 12:53, and then we'll continue off a different route. And of course, what you can do is with these books is you then flip to the appropriate one, which will do the Chester to Warrington. And then we've got Wigan Diesel Depot to Oakley Sidings. That goes up to as far as Chester, so that won't go to Llandudno. And then here we go, Edge Hill. Okay, so from Llandudno Junction to Edge Hill Gullet, which is the 6F36, and there's a Transrail service, Saturday accepted. And that starts at 13:01 and gets into Chester at 15:26. Yeah. So the Crewe to no, that's something else. Okay, then we've got the Pembermore Quarry to Guybridge, which is 15:45, gets in at 17:38. That's going to be a rough one because that I know the route that goes through, and that would be going through Guybridge at tea time, on quite a busy section at the rush hour period. So then there's the 7C40, which is the from Holyhead, Tuesday, Friday only, operated by Transrail, and gets into Chester at 17:24. And excuse me for the ambulance. No, it's a police car. And then on Sunday, there's the Holyhead sidings. So that'll be the fuel oil train, which goes to Barton on Humber Refinery, operated by Load Haul, starts at 14:20 and gets into Llandudno Junction. Only goes as far as Llandudno Junction by the look of it, and arrives at 16:35. And then there's another one. Okay, so it goes as far as Llandudno Junction, and then continues on. Oh, it must change. It must be for a crew change. So yeah, because it gets in at 24, departs at 25, and then departs at 35. So sorry, try again. Gets in at 24 minutes past 3, leaves at 16:35, and then gets to Chester at 18:46. So there you go. That's kind of adds a bit more information for you. So this kind of leads on, since it's North Wales, and was talking about, had some nuclear flask traffic in there. It's going to places that I can't really pronounce. I had a question from Dave Class 47. He sent it to me privately. We've had some bits back and forth, and I thought, you know what, I'll just answer the question, live. So because I just happened to be having having a live thing today. Hi, St. Michael's Hill. How are you doing? And Hansard Heath. Oh, right. I was toying around going to the Stafford show, but just didn't have enough money. Nuclear flask wagons. The Batman release has a large number painted on the top of a white flask. What year did they start doing this? I have a flask wagon and was wanting to know what stock year I could run it with. So I can't be sure exactly, but I think it's about 2000, 2001, maybe late. It's very late 90s into the very early 2000s. So it's about that point. And it's tended to happen about the same time as the overhead warning flashes changed. So I happen to have one, but I've actually got two. And they might even be the same wagon as far as I remember. But yeah. So here is the one, the one that came out of the box straight as it is. I haven't done the work on it yet. And you can see it's got a big number on the top. So the way they used to run them was in, rakes. They could be short ones or they could be long trains put together, because they would run several trains down to somewhere and then split them up and then move them to different places and then bring them back and then take them back to Sellafield, or the other way around. So I don't do the period that looks like this. I do a period that looks like that. So what I've gone and done is I've just removed the number on the top, and I've changed the warning flashes on the ends, and that's it, really. Although, strangely, the Bachmann wagons, I don't know why they've used this weird brown color, because actually they're steel. They're just unpainted steel. So if let me show you. So I've got a number of photos, and let me wait for my hard drive to wake up. There it is. So yeah, they're not really brown; they're just dirty. That's basically it. It's like they're like a tan color, but gradually over time they got really dirty. So yeah, you can see one here that hasn't got the number on the top, but it's got the the flashes on it. And then there's one with the number on with the flashes on it, so the modern flashes on. So yeah, and there are variations as well. You've got some that got squared oleo buffers, oval buffers, and then there are other one with this one's got a flat floor, other ones have got a slightly tapered floor. Ones like this used to be angled at the end, because originally they were exactly like that. You can see, just about see a seam line that's there. So, you know, some of them have got that shape. There's one that's cleaner. But you can see, so you got other ones that got the handbrake here. Other ones have got this notch in there as well. But, you know, there's variations. So you can see that they were originally just plain metal. Now you can see here the locomotive is directly attached to it. Never used to be the case. They used to operate with barrier vehicles. So, yeah. Such as this, there's a barrier vehicle there. There you go. There's an unpainted one, so as they were a brand new one. So it's just, you know, aluminium or steel that was unpainted and just got dirty. This is an RNA, an FNA hopper wagon with the body still intact. So now, if we so the majority of the runner wagons that operated with these are former HEA hopper wagons, and they had basically the body removed, which allowed the guy in the guards guards van to be able to monitor. And this is what they were like without the bodies on. While they still had the body on, and it literally was just chopped off from below. And a big chunk of metal stuck, you know, on the end to just give it some ballast, a bit of weight. So, yeah. But there's an example of a couple to put together. This is obviously running, you know, as a movement train. So moving some of the flats, but also having a few. The barrier vehicle is probably somewhere. This actually, looking at this, I have a feeling this may be a fire safety exam. So we've also got here a former OAA, you know, open wagon that's had the body removed. But there's one without the flask. So it's obviously heading back towards London now. And then there were a few ex-OBA wagons that have had the bodies removed, had some brackets on, and they were used for carrying. I think they had skips or something. So yeah, and if I jump to class 31s, class 31, 1, and roll for 8. Cool. So a bit of a ropey picture, but you can see a series of them pulled by a pair of 31s, and each section has barrier wagons attached to it. So this is Llandudno Junction. This is what I was talking about before, and we've got 4 with the barriers that go with it, and they get shunted around a bit. But you can see barrier vehicle, 2 flask wagons, another barrier vehicle, and then a brake van. So at Arpley, they used to use them for shunting. But so for Dave Class 47, this is the kind of thing he might wish to get. He certainly should have 2 barrier vehicles and the flask wagons and a brake van. But in Scotland, where he models, there used to be They've got RETB on certain routes, a radio electronic token block, which is effectively an electronic version of passing of signaling a long distance that not much traffic runs along without having loads of signal box all the way through. So you've got a series of passing loops throughout maybe 100 miles or something. And, in order to be able to move plenty of trains down that route, one goes into a block and then it gets to a passing loop siding. And then the other train coming the opposite way. Let me turn my camera off so I can. So what will happen is you'll have single track with a passing loop. And what will happen is you'll have two trains. So one will come and wait in the loop, and then the other one will come waiting in the loop, and then this train will continue on, and then that train will continue on. And what happens is in the cab, they've got a box, and they ask for the token, and then they wait until the token is sent to them. And then, once it's sent to them, then they can proceed. But it will only allow one token to be in one block at a time. And like I say, it's all done by radio. So what you would have is class 37s, class 26s perhaps, that were fitted with RETB equipment. Usually it was class 37s, if I remember correctly. So what would happen is, for his layout, having a class 37 with an RETB fitted one, that would work, that a nuclear fast train off to whichever power station it would be. And if we look, let's have a look at, he does 80s period mainly, so let's have a look at the 1980 combo book. Let's have a look for Scottish 37s. So let's have a look. Does it have RETB marked here? I want that did have it. The R for RETB at this point? Yes. Okay, so let's have a look. So we're looking for Eastfield class 37s with R. So when you get one of these books, as well as having the number and the sector code, you've also got the depot here. You've also got these markings here, and what they do is they tell you various things about it. So it's, for example, 37013 has X, O, and a plus. So the not sure what the plus is on this. So let's have a look. So at the start, okay, right. So at the start, it's got locomotive detail differences here. And so X means dual brake, so it's got air and vacuum brakes. O is no train heating apparatus. So remember, at this point, there were still a couple of locos rolling around that had steam heat, although I'm not sure if they were used in Git in 89. I think they'd stopped in 87 or 88. But that, and then the plus is additional fuel tank capacity when compared to others in the class. So on class 37s, for example, you've got two boxes between the bogies. One tank was originally for the steam heat boiler water, and the other one was for fuel. And since they were operating long distances up in the Scottish Highlands, then they would they converted that other spare fuel tank. The water tank. It didn't need the steam heat boiler anymore, so they converted it to a fuel tank and give it double the range effectively. So still going. Eastfield XO, that's 80, which was a petroleum loco. We've got Motherwell XI. I'm not even sure what I is. I is steam heated fitted apparatus isolated. Maybe they hadn't fitted the RETB by them. Not seeing any R's So, okay, so it wouldn't have been then. So let's try. I've got a 1990 book here. Okay. So let's just check. See whether the codes are the same. Yep, are. Okay. So we got. Looking for anything with an R on the end. Here we go. 31114, and Old Rail Freight at the time. And that was Inverness-based loco. We've got Immingham-based, Stratford-based. Here we go. So we've got 37261, which is in large logo livery. That's an Inverness-based loco. And what you'll find, what you get on the nose, they have an aerial on the front at this time. They didn't have aerials prior to that. That was only the RATB stuff. And then 37262, which was in departmental grey, so all over grey. And that was also an Inverness loco. Yeah, and of course all the Scottish 37-4s. So I know that Dave has got a number of Class 37-4s. Actually, what am I thinking? They'll be in here probably as having our. Let's have a look. Let's check. Yeah, all the Eastfield and Inverness based allocated 37s had them. So, Dave, if you're seeing this, one of your large logo 37s, they all have RATB on, and so that is the best loco to go with, with your nuclear fast train. A Class 31 would deliver it up to that area, but of course the 31s, unless they had it fitted, they didn't have the equipment to take it all the way there sometimes. Do we have any 26s? No, they didn't have it either. No, and none of the 31 ones had RATB at this time. So yeah, it kind of nails it right down for you. A couple of 37 O's in in that period, plus your 37-4s in large logo livery. So all of them can work with that train. So let's go to other questions that I got asked this week. Okay, so Michael's Hill asked, do you know what Class 47s and 57 Freightliner had between 1995 and 2000? The answer is yes, I do know. So it's an interesting story. I might as well give you some background information as well, because that'll make sense. So in the run to privatization, British Rail was split up into multiple sectors. So, you had different pools for different jobs. So you had trainload freight, which was metals, construction, coal, and petroleum, and they had sort of specific parts themselves. So they had sector codes specific for that, and then you had the departmental pool. So Crewe-based Class 47s and 31s, Bescot-based Class 37s and 41s, Immingham-based 31s and 31s and 37s, and a couple of 47s, Stratford-based, so they would be, and Scottish ones. So they would be strategically located in various places. DCWA, for example, being the southwest pool, departmental, civil engineers, Great Western pool, so be it out of Cardiff, but there were also a few Old Oak Common as well, mostly 47s. So all these, just put those wagons to the side for a moment. So what happened was, later on, those departmental pools got merged into the freight pools, and so you ended up with like the Intercity, Network Southeast, and Ridge Railways departmental pools. And then it's like, no, we've got to change our mind again. So what we're going to do now, we're going to have, we're going to split it all up for privatization. So you ended up with all the freight locos split up into three groups. Try again. Not all the freight locos. Sorry. You had the trainload freight ones split into three pools, which was trainload freight northeast, trainload freight southeast, and trainload freight west, which became load haul, mainline, and Transrail, respectively. But in addition, and of course, they all had departmental locos attached to that as well. Well, and then you still had Intercity and Network Southeast. They had their own locos and units and so on. And Regional Railways, of course. So then what happened was you had Rail Freight Distribution. Rail Freight Distribution, they did all sorts of stuff. They did timber trains. They did Freightliner trains, car trains, etc., a lot of things with vans and cargo wagons, things like that. So moving car parts to factories where they build the cars, and then they'd have the car trains that would take the cars off for delivery. So that's the kind of system they had. Well, in 1995, British Rail, as a part of the privatisation run-up, they split. Let's just get some bits. So they split the Freightliner into a separate company, and unfortunately for Freightliner, they ended up having they got half the 90s, half the 86s, and they acquired all the rest later on. But most importantly, they got a whole chunk of Class 47s. But this is at the time, so 93, 94 period. This is when the new Rail Freight European livery came out. So let's see if I got a picture immediately. More likely to have it in this one. Huh. That's a bit unfortunate. Come on, there's got to be a Rail Freight European logo around here somewhere. Maybe another time, Lucky. If not, I'll just find a picture on the. Okay, here we go. So that livery. Sorry about the fuzziness. There we go. So what happened was Rail Freight Distribution had started refurbishing their Class 47s, cut down cabs, sealed up some of the sides of the horn covers, stopped them getting water getting into them when it was really rainy or whatever. So they'd been refurbishing them, and they'd refurbished quite a few of them, and suddenly it's like, yeah, sorry, you're going to have to split half of you're going to have to split your fleet off and give them, and to separate them for a Freightliner, a separate company. So what they did was they gave Freightliner the dog end ones, the ones that were high on their tops hours, because a loco has amount of hours before it has to be refurbished. So they ended up giving the ones that were like 3,000 or 4,000 tops hours of usage. So they needed overhauls quite quickly, and it was they were really dog end. And in preparation for this, I've gone and just grabbed hold of a few pictures for you. So if you look, you can see how this loco really does need a new paint job and an overhaul. It's it's still got the cowling on them. So this, other than plated up the boiler port, probably this hasn't seen an overhaul since the late 80s. So it's gone 5 or 6, 7 years. Needs an overhaul, because in general, British Rail overhaul their locos approximately every 7 years. You can see here, even though it was in Rough distribution, you can see how pink the diamonds are there, and how much the old BR blue is starting to show through the paintwork here. And this is it in April of '95, and then they went and just pulled the stickers off and the nameplates, and you can see how much of the blue is showing through here, the original color scheme. Here's 114, 147, 156, 158. Sorry, this is which one was this one again? 157. So you can see that they're the dog end, the really ropey. There's one that's had an overhaul. So 210's an interesting loco actually, because at the other end, it's got a flat end, and I'll show you that in a second. But yeah, so these are the old ones. I mean, look, 270 was still in BR blue, so that hasn't had an overhaul, since like the early 80s probably. But yeah, if I 47210, 47210 is a fun loco, because what happened was it had a crunch at some point, and it ended up having the end plated up. But they've done a really ropey job. They've just stuck a big chunk of metal over the top and a couple of holes, drilled a couple of holes and put the original frosted glazing inside the rubber grommet. And you can see there's a ridge, is actually plated over the top, instead of the other locos, which were just like skinned over. They filled up the hole and put new metal and everything. So everything from sort of here onwards would have been new. But in this case, they've just gone and filled the hole with a big piece of metal, drilled a couple of holes in it, and got it back in running. And so there's frequently when you see pictures of this loco, it often ends up, with a sort of dirty line underneath. And if you did a model of this, people would think, oh my God, you did a really ham-fisted job of that, didn't you? But the reality is the loco looked like that. So, it's a perfect example of how, they were a little bit. So, hi, Spiky. I saw you live a little while ago, and I thought about typing something in there, but I thought, probably not a good idea. So, I've got a couple of years worth of books here, so that I can say which locos. So I've got let's have a look. Why did I drop that? Okay, so St. Michael's Hill. So which 95 to 2000? It's a bit of a vague thing, but I'll just read them out. Okay, so what I've got here, I've got spring of 97, spring of 98, and I've got 2000. And then I've got 1995. Now, this one from 1995 has the Freightliner pool, which was Freightliner. They'd separated them into that group. So what we've got, I'll just read out the Freightliner one. So this is the summer autumn 95. So what I'll do is I will, unless I say otherwise, consider them as Rough distribution with very pink logos. So we've got 47052, 060, 114, 147, 156, 157 without logos on, 187, 197 in petroleum, which was one of the former Stanlow locos. 206, 210, 212, 225, 258, 217 BR Blue, as I showed you a little while ago. 281, 284, 289, 291, 296, sorry, 293, 296, 305, 335, 337, 345 in red soul bar, 347, 349, 358 in old rail freight, so that's red without the red soul bar. Grey, yellow cabs, like large logo basically, but in greys. 47361, 376 in rail freight European, which doesn't seem right to me. Maybe I'm wrong on that one. And 377 in rail freight distribution again. So that's that one. Now, by that's 97. So by this time, by spring 1997, they will have been. They started painting them, as you can see here, in the new, rail freight distribution, rail freight Freightliner livery. So let's just go back to the Freightliner stuff. Okay, Freightliner 1995 company. Okay, so we've got there's some multiple working fitted ones. So 114 in rail freight distribution, 152 in Freightliner, Freightliner Grey, 204 with no logos on, 205 with Freightliner logos, 209 with Freightliner logos, 234 in rail freight European but with the logos removed, 47 290 with rail freight European with the logos removed, 47 292 in rail freight distribution, 303 in European with logos removed again, 323 with the logos European with the logos removed, 337 in Freightliner Greys, 361 in Freightliner Grey, and then those are the multiple working fitted ones. So they've got the jumper cable on the end, the U-shaped socket. So DFLT pre-class 47s, 47052 in Freightliner, 47060 without logos, 47147 without logos, 147 without logos, 47157 with in Freightliner, 47297 without logos, 47206 with Freightliner logos, 47212 without logos, 47225 with Freightliner logos, 47231 without logos, 47270 without logos. Sorry, try again. In Freightliner livery. 47283 without logos, 289 without logos, 296 with Freightliner logos, 301 with Freightliner logos, and that was the first. I think that was one of the. Yeah, doesn't matter. So with Freightliner logos, 47302 in red soul bar, 47305 in Freightliner logos, 47317 with logos removed, 339 with logos removed, 345 with Freightliner logos, 347 with logos removed, 349 with logos removed, 350 in old rail freight, 354 with Freightliner logos, 358 with Freightliner logos, 370 with in European, rail freight European with the logos removed presumably, 47371 with Freightliner logos, 47376, which was the first one to be painted and had crew diesel depot plaques under the driver's cab as opposed to normally on the other end. And then 47377 with logos removed. And there's also a holding pool, of which 4 of them became class 57s in the end. So 19, 47019 in rail freight distribution. Is that right? I don't remember it being in that livery. Oh no, I was thinking of 016, that's why. Okay. 47079 in Rough Freight European, probably with the logos removed. 47142 in Red Solbar, it stayed like that for a long time. 47156 in Rough Freight Distribution. 47187 in with the logos removed. 47207 with logos removed. 47279 in Freightliner livery. 47322 in Red Solbar. 47340 in Civil Engineers livery, so the Dutch grey and yellow. 47356 in Rough Freight Old. 47367 in Red Solbar, and 47473 in large logo. So, and then if I jump to 97, so I know this is a bit okay. This might be a bit harder because I'd have to find them. Yeah. Okay, so what I'll do next is go to this book, which is 2000. So HTs, what was it? Okay. So 47052 in Rough Freightliner. 47114. Okay, that one was a fun one. Let me just find a picture. Just gotta wait for my hard drive to wake up again. Apologize for the pause. Okay, so locos, diesels, type 4, that's 47, 470, privatized, Freightliner, and then so 114 was a funny one. And if I can get it to open. Come on, computer, to wake up. There it is. So effectively, you know, they went and painted it in the original green livery, but they stuck on the Freightliner logos and, you know, obviously a nameplate, Freightliner bulk. And that's the multiple working socket I was referring to before. So you could have two working together. They use those out of Felixstowe because it's got quite an incline there. And rather than hiring Class 56s from EWS, which they did for a little while, they were able to use pairs of locos as far as Ipswich, and then, you know, they would go singly from there. And that was one of the reasons which made them want to get the Class 57s, because that way they didn't have to waste the effort. So 114. 152 in Freightliner livery. 157 in Freightliner livery. 193 in the holding pool in Freightliner livery. 205, 206, 207, 209. All of which are in Freightliner livery. 212 in Freightliner livery. 224 in Rail Freight without any logos. And 225 in Freightliner livery. 234 in Freightliner livery. 258 in Freightliner. 270 in Freightliner. Oh, hang on. Wait a minute. Let me just double check something. Because I'm seeing FL and FF. I think FL. Oh, FL is the dark green. Sorry, yeah. Okay, I'll explain that one in a minute because there weren't very many. So 279 in Freightliner, 287 without any logos, 289 in Freightliner, 292 without any logos, 296 without any logos, 297 in Freightliner, and then we get into the threes. So 301 in Freightliner, 302 and 303 in Freightliner, 305 in the holding one, but also in Freightliner, 308 in Freightliner, but stored, 309 in Freightliner, 323 in Freightliner, 330 in Freightliner, 334 in Freightliner, 345 in Freightliner, 349 in Freightliner, 354 in Freightliner, 358 in Freightliner, 367 in Freightliner, 371 and 372 in Freightliner, 377 in Freightliner. Apologising for these being a bit dry. There you go. That's it for the 47s. And of course, there were 86s and 90s that also carried it. So the second part of his question was about 57s. Sorry, apologise. Before that, there were a couple that carried the green livery. So 150 and 279. Now 279 was just painted in it, and 150, if I remember it correctly, so 150 was painted as a prelude. So they basically refurbished the cab as well, but they refurbished the cab in the way that they were going to do it for the Class 57s. So it's basically trial out the new cab with the 47, and then if people are happy with it, then do a production style cab for the 57. So yeah, and 292 was another unrefurbished cab. So yeah, so there were only 3 that carried this livery itself. So I might be in the background here somewhere because I was at that show. So so then we've got the 57s. So the 57s were converted, as I mentioned before. They basically took a Class 47, they gutted it, they rebuilt the cab as well as refurbishment, and they put in a new General Motors engine in it. And this gave it much more traction. It put it into the Type 5 category now instead of being a Type 4, and gave it plenty more power. So and this went from 57001 to 12. And one thing to watch out, I think 1 or 2 of them have got flush ends, so be careful which numbers you renumber them into. So I hope, are you still watching? I hope that answers all the questions that you asked. If you need any more elaboration, put it in the side chat. I'm going to be watching. So then I've got Del Parkway. Are there any good books you know of that can help with coach rakes? As I model 1976 to 82, Deltic and other services around the LNER area, I have HST rakes and just need local haul services. I know not all are the same, but there must be a general rule to follow. So it's Excellent, great. I'm glad I helped with that. Okay, so this one is a little bit harder to do because, you know, he's modelling Deltics and the East Coast Main Line. So that'll be Class 47s and, you know, Class 55s. Now, there were different trains that ran with different coaches. So it's kind of difficult to nail it down. But I certainly have a little bit of information. So I've got a couple of books that are good for this kind of stuff. So the first one is this book here, which is my big coaching stock book, and of course, and this gives just it gives all the different coach types and the individual numbers for the blocks, and it also tells you that whether they're Eastern Region ones or Midland ones, Scotland ones. So it'll have in the old days, until sort of about I don't know, the early mid 80s, they used to have a prefix number at the front, so it'd be M for Midland, LMS region. It would have E for Eastern, which would be like the East Coast Main Line and like Norwich. It would have W for the Great Western Route, and S for the Southern Route, and SC for Scotland. So it makes it kind of, it's a useful book because it tells you what the codes are and also tells you if they change to another place. So that's quite useful. So, for example, I'm looking at here at a Mark 1 CK, and it started off as S7220, which until was it 83 or 63? So, but it says that in 1985 it changed to the Western, so it got a W instead. So yeah, that's true. There were suffixes as well. Some would have like W digit W. So yeah, so what I can do is I can give some samples of what some trains are, and so yeah, the other book I've got is this one here. And it's got a few sample trains in it which actually have numbers on, so there might be something here that's good. But for this one here, I've got East Coast Main Line, and it's got Scotland. It's got the 0900 Aberdeen to King's Cross, 1978, Mark II D and F, and the formation is a BG, first open, first open, first open, RKB, of which there aren't any models of, sadly. That's a Mark 1. These are all Mark 1. Sorry, try again. These are Mark II Ds and Fs, so it's a Mark 1 BG, 3 FOs, which are probably going to be Ds at that point, RKB, which is a Mark 1 buffet car. Like I say, you can't get a model of it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 6 standard opens. And these are Ds and Fs. And I've actually got I've got a picture to illustrate. So this is probably the 70s, into early 80 period. And if we look, we can see here's our BG. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 TSOs. This is an RKB and probably an RLO. And then 1, 2 firsts and a brake first. So BG's that simple. This one is a Mark II D. If we look, you can just about see how there's a window there and a window there. So the Mark II Ds had the toilets on the same side, but on the E's and F's they had it on one side only. So you can tell that this is an air-conditioned coach because it's got the smaller windows and they're completely sealed, as opposed to the earlier coaches which had windows a bit like this with a bar and ventilators. So This one here is a Mark II F. So you can see it's got a window on one side only, but on the other side it's a blank place, So the toilet's on the other side of the coach over here. We can also see here there's the Stones, the temperature limited air conditioning pack, and all these ones back here have got it. So we've got Mark II-D, Mark II-F, Mark II-F, Mark II-F, and I think that's it. I can see a sort of shadow, but I might just double check. It's got a shadow, so it's either a D or an F. So these would be the Bachmann coaches, or the new upcoming Hornby ones. These will be the old Airfix, Dapol, Hornby one, Mark II-D. Then we've got the RLO, which Bachmann do, and an RKB, which doesn't exist. And then we've got two first opens, and this one at the back here, you can just see the yellow. You can see how there's the dark bit there, and this is lighter. So this will be a BFK. There isn't a model on one of those, but you can convert them out of the Dapol one, and you can get Dapol ones 10 a penny. So yeah, it takes a bit of work, but it looks good when it's done. So yeah, that gives an idea of the formation. So looking back at my book again, Mark II-Ds and Fs. So this is the 705 Edinburgh to King's Cross, a BG, an FK, which will be a Mark II-D FK, an FO, an RU, which is an unrefurbished buffet car, an RMB, which is one that Bachmann do. So both of those coaches can be done with Bachmann. 1, 2, 3 SOs, and a BSO at the back. So this train can be done quite easily. The exception being the FK. But that's a Mark II-D, and there isn't a lot of difference between it. It's basically the interior has a corridor instead of an open. So if you've got the time to modify the interior, then that'll work nicely. Then you've got the 0900 King's Cross to Edinburgh, 1978, Mark II-D and F. So 1, 2, 3, 4 SOs, an RKB, an RUO, an FO, an FK, and a BSO. The 0800 King's Cross to Edinburgh, 1965. Oh no, that's before your time. That's that one as well. Going north. That's 65. Okay, that's too early. So yeah. So that's that one. And then at the back of this book, it's got some train formations. So that's 60s. Also 60s, 60s, also 60s. Okay, let's have a look. We've got 76. Sheffield to Plymouth, Plymouth to Penzance, Moorgate. Okay, this one's something you might be able to do something with. So let me find. Okay, so I need early D&E here because it's a bit before my time. Just wait for my hard drive to wake up. Okay. Type 2s, could look for baby Deltics or 31s. This 31s are probably good. Okay, so in the 70s, they still had just a few of these trains running around. This is early 70s because it's still got a TOPS number. It's still got a D number, but the train didn't really change much. So I think I've got a good overall picture of one at a distance. Earlier still. There we go. This is the kind of thing we're talking about here. So, and they did this up until I think it was 77. But so this one is 1976, and it's made out of. And Bachmann do these coaches, so you can do this train quite easily. So it's a these are Mark 1 Suburbans, and it's 46159, 46119, 46116, which are standards. A brake standard 43159, and then another two standards 46140 and 46210. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 coaches long, and then so you got 3 standards, a brake, and 2 standards, and that'll give you a nice train for that. Okay, I'll get it back to you on that one afterwards, Andrew. So we've also got this one, which is Moorgate in 1976. This is the 1745 departure to Moorgate. So that was that's SLO, SLO, CL. So standard toilet open. Now I better show you what that means. Trains, coaches, Mark ones, and then Suburbans. Most of these are museums and things, but okay, so this is an SLO. So it's a standard toilet. There's the toilet there, and that's a composite. Sorry, so it's got the first class, which is also in this list. So there's an SLO. You can see they're a bit ropey pictures. No, it's a stand. Oh, there's an SLO. Okay, hang on. That's off of 210. I'm going to put it in the wrong place. There we go. There's an SLO. Okay, that'll do. Okay, so we've got 2 SLOs, a CL, which is the one with the yellow stripe on, so part of the compartment is for first class. A BSO, which is just a standard coach, a brake, a CL, and a standard, and 2 SLOs on the end. So it's 48081, 480009, the CL 43012, BSO 9329, which is a Mark 1, just a standard Mark 1 coach, which is interesting because I don't think they went down into the Moorgate tunnels. A CL 43043, a standard 460099, an SLO 48006, an SLO 48012. Okay, here's another one that. Oh no, not that one. Okay, here's one for you. It's probably a bit further up the line, but it's there. So 755 Doncaster Leeds, 19th of March 1977. 47 429 Horling and SK 25885, CK 16044, and BG 80896. Bristol Birmingham, Bristol Weymouth, Cardiff Sheffield, Glasgow Dundee, a bit further up in Scotland for that. Glasgow Central, Exeter to Brighton, Holyhead to Manchester, Barrow Furness to Liverpool, Sheffield Scarborough. No. Just it's now getting A284 now, so yeah, that's all I've got for that. So yeah, that's the best I can offer with that. Now, what I can do is go through the Mark II Ds and Fs because it mentioned those. So we've got. So what I said to what I said I would do is read out the numbers that were Eastern Region ones. So although trains. 5, 55, yeah, blue. So, see if I can try to remember how you. I'm thinking about just getting it to run just automatically jump to the next picture just while I'm talking. Okay. I'll just leave things going. But okay, so I'm looking for first class coaches first. So that's an E. Okay, so we've got Mark II Ds. So let's find a good picture. There you go, something like that. So this one from my eyes looks like. So that's a Mark II D BFK. That's a Mark II D. I think that's a D. A D. Also a D. That is a buffet car, which hard to tell from this distance, but it's either an RKB or a 16 or 19 XX Series 1. 2 firsts and looks like a BSO because it's dark on the top, but it might be an FK. BFK. Anyway, so let's have a look at Mark II Ds. So we've got for Eastern Region ones, 3170 to 3188. Yep. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So 19 coaches that can be used for the first class coaches at the end there. For Mark II Fs, 3276 to 3287 were Eastern ones. And that's that. And then also Fs is 34118 to 3428 Eastern. Yeah, so that's that one. Now let's look for the Mark II Ds and Fs in the standard class coaches. So we've got okay. So for the Mark II D, 5619 through to 5743. So there were a lot of them. 5619 to 5743. The Mark II Es started off as Midland ones. And then they had some Western ones as well. Weren't any Eastern ones. And then Mark II Fs, 5908 to 5935. And then 6134 to 6170. Yep. And then there were also, because when I was looking through the pictures, I love that photo. This is one of the things that I want to model as a part of my layout. I just love the, sort of the deep gorge and the walls, and it kind of looks dirty and horrible, but also very charismatic. Yes, Strathpfeffer. It's taken an awful lot of years to develop this. I've probably got 10 years, and there are lots of photos in this. I mean, some of them are duplicated, but um, I will. Um, okay, so what I'm going to do is just to give you an idea of how big this is, I'm just going to hit properties and leave it doing its thing for a while. So let's have a look. See, this is Mark. That's a Mark II C there. That's too small. So what we've got here is a BG, a Mark II C brake, uh, a BSO, and you can tell it's Mark II C because the ventilators are small there. That's a Mark II D TSO, Mark II F TSO. Not sure if that's either a D or an F. Hard to tell. That's an F. That's a buffet car, and that's Mark II D. Or it could, yeah, Mark II D. Okay, so the other thing that was when I was scrolling through these, um, there's another type of train. 1, 2, 3, 4 TSOs, a buffet car, and 3 and probably a BG by the look of it. But there's the top of that bit I was talking about that I'd like to model, the other side of it. So somewhere around here, there's a TSOT. Oh, there we go. Okay, this one's a really weird train because can you see the little red bit there? And it's got buffet on it. That's a Mark II D TSOT. And those are in the 6.4 series, if I remember correctly. 6.5, sorry. So, 6 TSOT. Okay, so we've got 1981 to 91. So yeah, 6600 to 6609 were Eastern Region ones. So that would have been the cut. So these coaches that you can see here with the red bits on, those are anything from those numbers 6600 to 6609. And some of them went to Scotland, some of them went to Western, some of them went to Midland. So, yeah. Well, what makes it interesting is the fact that they've got 2 of them in one train and a buffet car, which is a bit odd. So I would expect that the buffet car was open, but the buffet counter for these, they would have been locked out of use at that time. So interesting stuff. And things like that are interesting. You see all the ripples on the side. Our locos look so neat and flat, but there was a lot of undulation in things. So yeah, Deltics are kind of cool. Bit before my time, really. I have no memory of them operating on the main line other than ex-preserved stuff that was certified for mainline use like this. So yes, interesting stuff. Okay, so that's that question done. Okay, there was a question earlier on about 999606. I don't remember that one to hand. So let's, yeah, you can see still counting. So, what bogies are used on this vehicle? Okay. I see what this is. Okay, these bogies are Southern Region power bogies. So they're the kind of thing that you would find under the Hornby VEP. So if you can get Hornby VEP motor bogies, those are the ones you're looking for. Uh, if I go back to my files, trains, units, EMU, third rail, first gen. I'm not really very organized under this stuff than I am under others. But the vet and so these are the same bogies. These are the power bogies with third rail. You can see, look, they've got the equipment for picking up the ultrasonic testing or whatever it is that they use them for. So yeah, those are the bogies you're looking for. This type of thing. So yeah. So what was next? Okay, so Richard Watson asked how to go about recreating a couple of 45s from the 1980s with seal beam headlights as Class 97s. I'm not sure whether he's talking about doing 47903, which and 904. Sorry, try again. 97. So let me open up. So 97. So there were a couple of 97s that were a couple of Class 45s that were done like that. There we go, like this. And what he's effectively talking about is the seam across there and the marker lights. Now, it's a sort of hardish question to deal with because at the present there aren't the marker lights available to do it. I'm hoping Brian at Shoreplan will do these eventually because they're the larger style ones that you'll get in Class 37s and 47s. They're the lift-up lens types, and currently he doesn't do them. I'd also like him to do on Class 47s the marker light ones as well, so you can have them on the vertical or horizontal versions. He asked a similar question about doing 47s, which I'll get to in a moment. So I'll show you some of the work I've done. So I've done a few commissions here and there. And one of the commissions that I did was to do exactly that conversion for a friend, Andy Molyneux. And this is the one that I did. Now, this was the 45114 model, which was blue with a white band down the side. And I've turned it into 45128 Centaur. So I ended up modifying the roof section here because some of the panels were different on the model that he'd given me compared to the real one. And also the rain strip had broken off there, so I kind of trimmed it off and then sort of patch painted it to make it look a bit better. The seam line was somewhat hard, but what I did was I used I used some masking tape and then used a razor saw and just sort of very carefully scored a line down it to carve, and used the masking as the line to keep it straight. So I did okay at it. And I also did new lighting on, so it uses just a standard Hornby 8249 decoder, and it's all hardwired so that when under a normal thing you turn the lights on and the headlights on in the direction of travel, and then you press number 1 and the marker lights are on for the number 1 end, So if we press number 1, the marker lights, the red marker lights will be on at that end. And if we press 2, the marker light will be on at that end. You can have both on. But function 1 and 2 on the Hornby decoder has number 1 and function 2 on, or the other one is on. So it's in the direction of travel. So with my lens system, I literally just press 0 after dialing in the loco, and the headlights will come in the direction of travel, which means that whichever way you're pointing, whichever light's got the headlights on, that's the way the loco will go. And then if you want to turn off the, if you want to have the tail lights, if it's running light engine and you want it to just have the red lights on the back, then you can do it. But if you don't want them on because it's pulling a train, you just press the button again and they go off. So it's much more functionality, much more functional. And I do wish that Hornby and Bachmann did this, that they had a switch under the loco or something that just turned it DC or whatever, DCC. And so when it was under DCC, you just use the 2 different functions to turn the lights on or the red lights on, off, or on, depending on how you want to use them, rather than having to pick it up, flick a switch, stick it back on the track. Well, that's not much good when you're trying to do some shunting or something on a scenic part of your layout. Having the big godly hand, sort of reach down, push the loco aside a bit, flick the switch underneath, and then stick it back on the track. Yeah, that just doesn't look right. So, yeah. So it took a bit of time. And I also did a 40 for him as well. Which was just a green one with small yellow panels, and I just took off the nose and resprayed it, and painted the end bits gold, and just did some extra work. So yeah, these are just some of the models that I've done over the past. I intend to do the same loco again myself, but I'll put some Shoreplane grills here as well. Something also to watch out with for Class 45s is this here, because sometimes they've got a grill there and other times they don't. So pick your model appropriately. So yeah. Oh, and these some models. This is something I should really do for the for DMU update, Kelly. And this is where I took a pair of cowled a loco with cowling, and then cut and shutter the chassis, because there were a couple of locos that had cowling at one end only, where they'd had a crunch, and so I just chopped the chassis in half, stuck them together using the clip, so you don't even have to glue it, and then just got them nice and neat, stuck the boxes back together again. And so it was 2 locos with flush ends at the number 2 end, using the Bachmann did 47 235, but they did it in basically mainline livery. They used tan on the bottom of the intercity stripe, and it should have been white. So they ended up having to replace all the bodies, and the bodies ended up going spare on eBay. Invicta had loads of them. I think I bought about 7. So that I could do flush fronted ends. But yeah, so you can see at one end it's got the cowling, and on the other end it doesn't. And then I resprayed this one as well. So yeah, just a little bit of interesting modeling. There you go, that's the other ends. Yeah, I took lots of photos, not all of them always good. This was a 158 that I resprayed for a friend. So they went from the Scottish Swish one to the Express livery. And, on the end, I used a bit of clear plastic to make the extra door panel. And this is a shunter that I did for someone, made out of it was a departmental shunter at Ipswich Wagon Works, I think it was. And it was basically a forgot what it was now. it was off a truck, basically. It was a truck engine on a Grampus with a little cab built on it, and they used it as a little shunter. And this is an O gauge Class 47 that I sprayed up into Intercity livery as Northamptonshire. And I think it came out quite nice. I did it as 676 because 676 676 used to be a loco that ran in Scotland on the on some sleeper trains and some inter-Scotland, in Scottish internal passenger trains, but they ended up being replaced by 158s, and so they ended up removing most of them down. But yeah, and what made it a 6 was that it had they used them at 75 miles an hour instead of 100, so they had a higher ETH index. So that was just a way of making better use of them because they don't need to go fast anymore. So yeah. Okay, so the other part he asked about was how to do a 47. So 47s are kind of, this one's, again, it's a kind of a tough one, but not that bad. Okay, so there are a number of 47s that had flush ends. They had ended up with a crunch. Let's take 4770. 707, I think, is one of them. So there it is, 47707 with a flush end. So originally, Class 47s had, like all locos, they had the sunken panel with the mask on. So let me find pictures because it makes more sense to do it like that. And I tell you what, while I'm at it, why don't I just explain some thoughts? Explain how some things used to work, because a lot of people may not realize this. So on locos, they used to have, they had this roller shutter blind thing, and roller blind, and this would be the head code for the train. So they still use this system now. In fact, if I so we've got so this here, and you can see there's 2S86. You can click on it and it tells you what it is, what it's doing. That's a freight. And we can see that it's going to be coming. Actually, it's going to be going around the corner because I can see this from my window, this section here. So, yeah, that will be passing by very soon. And it's... oh, I think it's just gone, actually. Wait a minute. No, it would be on this line if it had just gone. So let's have a look. That's weird. I thought, are they on the wrong line? Oh no, what we're talking about is coming this way. Yeah, it's coming up that way. Anyway, so these head codes, they're still used today. But what happened was in the 1970s, they went to something called TOPS. So they it's all done via a computer. So in a signal box, they'll have a computer screen, and that will tell the signalman what the train is and what it's doing. So all he has to do is look out the window to verify it is, as opposed to the old days when you used to have to look out the window and read the code on the front to make sure it was the correct train, and then note down when the train went past. So that's how the system used to work. So what you've got, I've got an example of a working timetable here. that I bought recently on eBay. And this is the East Anglia LD section, which covers all the freight train services, and it's got a map. And this is similar to the one I talked about earlier when I was talking about Moston and Llandudno. So at the start of it, it tells you 4-character train identification system. And so this is what we see on, this Class 47 and so on. So, all these locos all have these head code boxes on, and it's just an indication of what they are and what they're doing. So what you have is so there are different classes of trains. So the first digit tells you what class train it is. So a Class 1 train is an express passenger train. Newspaper trains and breakdown trains as well. Snow plows also ran under this, and also light engines to help broken down trains. So it's basically anything that needs to be there in a hurry. So this is a Class 1 train. And there are different, a Class 2 train will be like a branch line type passenger. So an ordinary passenger train, parcels as well sometimes, TPO type things. A breakdown train that's not on duty would also do it. A Class 3 train was also parcels. That was one of the main ones. So it's parcels trains, but also things that were perishable. So fish, fruit, animals, milk, things like that, then you had express freight, and all, if you look, Class 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, these are all freight trains now. So a Class 4 train in the British Rail period, sort of towards the end of British Rail era. So when this book is in, it says, Freightliner company or Speedlink trains comprised of vehicles permitted to run at 17 miles an hour or over. Freightliner trains are numbered in the 4 series. Class 5 trains were, excuse that weird noisy car. So Class 5 trains are light engine, empty stock type trains. Then we've got Class 6 trains, which are not allowed more than 60 miles an hour. So trains timed not to exceed 60 miles an hour. The type of train may be identified from the train number as follows: 6-letter fully fitted company trains or block trains, fully fitted Speedlink trains. A Class 7 is a train's time to not exceed 45 miles per hour. A Class 8 was not to exceed 35 miles an hour or less, and Class 9 not fully fit. Class 9 is trains not fully fitted. Now they've got to change this now because today, if I remember correctly, that the Voyagers run on that, so they can be easily recognised. And then, Class 0 is light engine, locomotive and brake van. And then, so the next part is this one here, and that is so interregional trains. So E for Eastern, M for Midland, O for Southern, S for Scottish, V for Western. But that's only if it's going across boundaries. So it's going from the Eastern to the Southern, or it's going from the West. Let's say a Plymouth to Manchester train. It would be it would be like maybe 1M42 or whatever. And when it's, I don't know whether it's starting from or going to. It's probably going to. But if it's going to the Western region, it might be 1V something. And then in this book, it's got trains running within the Eastern region. So it would be A, King's Cross up mainline trains. King's Cross district is B. C, Liverpool district. D, Doncaster district. F, Colchester district. G, special services. H, Cambridge and Peterborough district. J, Sheffield district. L, Leeds and York district. N, Newcastle and Teesside district. P, Norwich district. R, Barking district. Y, Ipswich district. So if I was to jump through, I'm looking at LD28 page, London, Ipswich, and Norwich and branches. So we've got 6E87, and then we've got 4Y70. So that's staying within the region, and it's Freightliner from Stratford. So it starts at Stratford and goes to Felixstowe, Freightliner's terminals. So it's within the district. It operates as as 4Y. So that will be a company train that can run up to 70 miles an hour, and is staying within the district. So hopefully that will give an idea of what these codes mean. So when it goes to class 47s like this, obviously in the 70s, they didn't need them anymore. They didn't need these roller blinds on the front because the guard could just look on his computer screen and it would tell him what the train was. And all he had to do was look out the window when the lights went by, or the wagons or coaches went by, he would be able to say, yep, that one's the one going by. Yep. And then he notes it down on his log to say it passed at that time. And he keeps an eye on the back to make sure there's red lights showing so that he can be sure that the train hasn't separated at some point. This is something that was especially important on an unfitted train. But of course, they would have a brake van on the back. So there would be a warning system for that. So what happens is when you've got locos like this and they're involved in a crunch, then you don't need to fit this panel in. There's no need to have a recessed panel with, the marker lights in it when you can just plate it up completely. And so, let's see if I can find a better shot there. There you go. That's my photo. So, so what they did was they just, plated up the end and, stuck a recessed part and then have the lights recessed in it. Now, like I said, as I was saying before, currently there aren't any etched marker lights surrounds available, which is a real shame because there are a number of locos I would like to do. And I'm just going to go to this because I've got some detailed photos that can show. Let's see if we find a flush-fronted one. These kind of photos are exceptionally useful for showing the details. Not too bad. But so if the etched parts were available right now and I was doing it, what I would do is I would use the holes that already exist in the model, because effectively we're talking about filling in the hole now. We're filling in the vent. So what I would do is I would use some plastic rod, plastic tube, the same diameter as the hole in. So let's just take a normal one. Okay. So what I would do is I'd take some plastic rod, the diameter of the hole, because remember, this piece is the part that needs to stay there. It's just bigger than the surrounds. So what I would do is I would carve the hole to be the right size for the hole, and then I would use some rod and push it through on the inside so it's protruding on the outside. I'd use some Vaseline around the edge of it. That will stop any filler from sticking to it. And then I would fill the hole, leave it to dry, and then remove the tubes from inside. And then I would then be able to flatten it off, sand it all down, and then I could, clean off the tubes, reinsert it in, but it doesn't need to go all the way, because when you look at flush-fronted locos, find a better shot because I know there is one. Um, oh, well, there's one that's had a crunch. Actually, this is what happened to them. So what they would do is they stuck a, they used the original glass and the roller blind behind, and just stuck a, put a, removed the blind and then just stuck a dot in it, painted it black, and just had a dot for the light to shine through. And you can see here, this is one of the brush built machines because the hinges open sideways. You can see how it's hinged sideways, whereas the crew based locos had the vertical hinged marker lights. That's a brush built one. Now there's an easier one to do because it's got them fitted on the outside. Oh, here we go. So you can see how you need a hole that's big enough to take it, fill it up, remove the tubes. You can put the tubes back in, but they're recessed slightly because they need to be straight rather than on a curve. And then so then reinsert them, glue them in the right place, and then when the etch is available, stick the etch on. And you can see this is how this is a vertical marker light. Again, I wish Shawplan would do these, and that would enable any 47s to be done. So yeah, see, photos like this are fantastic. You can see all the detail work underneath. You've got the auxiliary fuel tank here, I think, from what I understand, or but all these kind of detail shots are really useful. There's one that's been having the end filled up, so they're going to be putting new metal on, and there's no point in putting the recess in if it's not needed anymore. Now, one of the locos that I'm doing that does have interesting flush ends is this one here, which is 47615, and this is it a bit earlier. You can see this is the number 2 end. The number 1 end has got the larger body side grills and the roof radiator grills, radiator fans on the roof. So at the number 2 end here, that's number 1 end. So weird thing that happened, I'd never understood why, but at one end it's got lift up lenses, and on the other end it's got frosted plastic with a rubber grommet around it. And then at some point it had a collision on the number 1 end. You can see, look, there's number 1 end. So it's just got, a black painted recessed panel. And then eventually it ended up with flush ends, and I don't know, it must have been a very localized one because it didn't do the cut off the cab cowling off, but they're just going to stuck them on the outside. So that one will be an easy one to do whenever the parts are available. So yeah, that's so yeah, that's one example. Oh, there we go. I finished looking up, and if you can see, my hard drive space for all those files are 240 gigabytes. 204,473 files on 5,155 folders. You know, like I say, a little bit obsessive, you know. But of course, that's how I've gained knowledge. You know, if I need to know something, it's like, okay, let's have a look at the pictures. Because pictures tell everything. Okay, so that's not the page I was after. Okay, so what else have we got? Richard Wilson asked that question about the 47. Okay, Bishop's Grove asked, my question is, where will your layout be set, and what multiple units will operate it? Well, my layout won't have units operating my layout, because I'll be doing the operating. The units will be operated. But I'm jesting. I'm making a joke. Okay, so I have an eclectic taste, and I have stock from all over the place. The only two places I don't really model are the southern region, despite all the Class 33s that I own, and Scotland. So I've got a couple of Mark IV trains for the East Coast Main Line. I've got a 307, which I intend to do the Leeds Doncaster route. Oh, you're welcome, Richard. So so I've got that. I've got units from all over the place. So the idea I've got in my head is to have something with overhead wires, probably Mark III based overhead wires, and then, you know, I'll just have stock on. So if I want to do the West Coast Main Line, then I can have 90s and, you know, 86s, 87s, and 90s hauling intercity trains. And if I'm doing the East Coast Main Line, I can have intercity 125s and Class 91s and Mark IVs, that kind of thing. But again, as a part of the eclectic thing, I have a number of Great Western stuff, because when I first started, I wanted to build something that was Western region, and so I've still got an awful lot of Western region stuff. And one of the things that I've got several of are a Class 166s, because I really like them. I think they're great. You know, the great looking units, and I think okay, I thought I had them there. Maybe I've moved them and I haven't sorted them yet. But I've currently got for the Great Western Line out of Paddington, I've got 2 Mark 1, Mark 2 trains. So I've got a Mark 1, Rayker Mark 1s in Network South East, a Rayker Mark 2s and Mark 1 / Mark 2s in Network South East. I've got cross-country trains which operate out of there for going the Oxford, Coventry to Manchester and things like that. I've got 165s, and you know, they're older now. They're 117s from Lima, which I might be replacing. So I might start my layout sort of on a Great Western Mainline type of theme, and then later on move it onto the East Coast Main Line or West Coast Main Line. I'll base it on the East Coast Main Line, but run West Coast Main Line stuff under it as well. So yeah, it's an eclectic taste that I have. I do have a vision of what I want as a layout. So what I've got is 15 foot by 9 foot, but there's a sort of notch out of the wall. you know, because I live in a block of flats, and of course, when you've got a block of flats, every, you know, couple of meters, you've got to have a vertical support. And sticking out of the wall, you know, I've got one. If you imagine this is my room, I've got one in the corner and one sort of offset here. And so I want to make a multiple layered layout. And it'll be a main line, sort of 2-track main line, just going around the room twice in general. But I'm thinking about having a couple of helixes on each end. So the idea is, if we imagine a station sort of on the curve around the edge of that, you know, lump. In fact, let me find a picture that will probably make a bit more sense. Okay. So this is how I plan a layout. This is the depot layout, which is going to be the lowest part. And it's also going to be reversed now, because originally it was going to come in this way. But it's going to be coming that way now, so it'll be in a different format. The depot will be based upon Bristol Bath Road. So let me open up another page. So depots, Bristol Bath Road. So I really love the service shed for Bristol Bath Road. I think it's a wonderful building, and it's quite long as well. So just wait for my hard drive to wake up again. So there are 2 depot buildings like this, or they were rather. This one's not long been demolished now. And they were basically the other one is at Swansea. Landor. Couldn't remember the name of it for a second. So so it has 8 arches long, but then in 1983 it was extended by an extra 3 and done on a slightly different angle. So this is the back end of it, and then the front is here. So there used to be a water tower about here, and if I, you know, you can see how it's got these new archways done. Now, someone did a model of this some years ago, and that was Western Road, but he only ever did it as the shorter version that finished here. I want to do the extended version, and we can see I've got the pre-83 one, where it used to be like this. So I just love the shape. I love the, you know, it's 3 sidings wide. And they, like I say, they extended it in 1983 to, I believe it's when they got an allocation of Class 108s, so that they could have the whole train under cover, because this is the servicing shed. Mainly it does fuel and, you know, basic servicing, whereas the more heavy you know, servicing goes on in the main shed, which is good. Photo around somewhere that someone took, and it's really inspirational. There. So that's the main shed. Each road is long enough for 2 locos deep. So, you know, it'd be an interesting one. Now, I love the clock there. I also love this accommodation block. When I do mine, I will probably only have it 2 windows wide, and then have the other part of the building sort of further, so it would be a longer building. But you know, but yeah. So, and by the way, I haven't got 4 tape measures. It's the same tape measure 4 times. And when I build a layout, what I do is I draw it on in 1-to-1 scale using Pico printable templates, and then just draw around them, write the numbers inside, and that gives an idea of the size and scope of it. So this building here is the servicing shed, and there's the main shed, and of course now this shed will be over here, and then with the accommodation block going out to about here or something. Don't know what I'm going to do with this to try and hide it, and again, same problem over here. But I wanted something so I could stable locos up in front of the loco and cut in front of the main shed, and then have some some sidings here. The breakdown train would go at the back there. So it's got plenty of room for storing locos and operating it like a proper shed. And I always liked the way Toten worked, where the locos would run, they would come from the yard, they would come into the end, run all the way around the back, then go into the fueling point, and then go onto the stabling sidings in front of the shed, or back onto its train and take it back off to a power station or colliery. So my plan was to have a loco that comes around the back and then comes in the servicing shed, and then comes out and then goes into the sidings here or here. So that was my plan, but it's all in flux at the moment. So, but you can see how it's got that notch sticking out the back. So what my plan is in the notch in the back is to have a station on a main line. It's going to be about 6 coaches long, so 6 Mark III coaches long, because that gives I want to make some Class 323s and UTIX Centro era area stuff. If you've got 3 coaches on the end, well, those are Mark III coach lengths, so they'll be right on the end of the platforms. So think cross city. So it's going to be a station on a main line. It's not going to be a mainline station. I've got 15 feet. There's no way you can fit a mainline station, into that space. Believe me, I tried. I've had previous versions of a layout, and it was too cram packed. So having express trains go zinging through while having a local train stop and drop passengers or pick them up and then continue on the journey, that's perfectly fine. So the idea is that it will have a fiddle yard. So fiddle yard will be over here. It'll go around. It'll go up a hill, go around over the top through the station, around the hill, down, and then back into fiddle yard. That was the original idea, but now I'm thinking about doing helixes because I have lots and lots of stock. I've got more than 900 pieces of rolling stock. We're talking, I've been doing this hobby for nearly 30 years now. And I've been doing sort of some more higher level stuff since the very early 90s. 92 was when I started doing detail work. But even then, I mean, when I was still at school, I was still painting, buying a Lima 37 and painted it in civil engineers livery. And the colors were slightly out because I was just using Humbrol paints, but they looked fairly good at the time. And I was drilling out, I was removing the handrails and drilling out, putting some proper handrails on. I was doing that kind of work back in 1991. So I've been doing this for a long time. So so my vision is slightly changing because I'm thinking about having a couple of helixes. Originally, I had the idea of having 2 helixes in one space. So effectively, you'd have one helix and then another one around it. So you'd have, basically, imagine like a helter-skelter. One goes around, then there'd be another one going around the opposite direction. So it would be a double helix, going full DNA here. So one would go down that way and the other one would go down that way. So it's an idea. The problem is that you've effectively got to get one track to go over another one, and it might, the kind of, excuse me about the ambulance, that is. So the problem is when you've got a shallow line and it's going up, it means that you've got to have you got to be real careful about how they overlap. So I don't know if it's possible. I'm still investigating the idea of it, but it's a case of it'd have to be a trial and error kind of thing to see if it would work. And I just don't think it will, to be able to have, an incline. I'm either going to end up with an incline that's too steep, or an incline that is the right kind of shallowness, but then clashes with another one. So at the end of the day, I may end up having to have two helixes, one at each end. Now, I'm 6'4", so when I build my layout, and I've already got a bit of a layout, it's not a very good one, but it's at this height. And so, that way I can just lean down and look at it as, from that height. Well, I want to continue doing that. I still want to have it at that kind of height. And the idea is to have it at, that height and then have the fiddle yard underneath, with about 8 to 10 inches between layers. But the problem is, if I've only got 15 feet, the incline is going to be too steep to make it look realistic. And even then, I'm going to be going around corners, and I don't want the corners to be too steep, because one of the things that I've seen too often in model railways, especially people that are either new to the hobby or getting back into it, they think in train set terms. So if we imagine, this is 15 foot by 9 foot, what people will frequently do is have straight track, 90 degrees straight, 90 degrees straight, 90 degrees straight, 90 degrees straight. And railways don't look like that. They kind of twist and wind. So when I do mine, it will, the station bit, it will be going like this, so the train will weave around, which will look really great. Well, for me, for the corners, I want to have nice wide corners, something that the minimum distance is going to be approximately finger length distance away from me. That means that I'll be having effectively a 180 degree corner like that. So it's going to be a bit tight. And so that's why I'm going multiple levels, because that way I can have one going around and then circling up. But the other problem is that because I've only got 15 feet and by 9 foot, I want to have full running trains. I've got full length trains. So for example, a class 91 and 10 coaches, standard, the normal coaches plus the DVT. So it's 9, class 91, 9 coaches, DVT. Okay, that's a long train. And I've got 2 of them, one for going clockwise, one for going anti-clockwise. So I'll be having them going past each other through the station or whatever. So what I was thinking of is having like 10 sidings wide. If you remember, I've got the notch. So if I have, let me go back to the picture. So the distance I've got from here to here is the distance is enough for 10, I think it was 10 or 11 sidings. Now you can see the distance from here to here is set track distance. So when you've got 2 points, I don't actually really have any examples, but yeah, so when you've got, yeah, you go, that'll do. So 1 point there, or if you imagine it was the, going straight on, that would be the distance away from each other, the set track distance. Sorry, the streamline distance. This distance is set track distance, or maybe a little bit more actually. So it just, this distance is set track distance because it just gives enough space to be able to put equipment beside. But this is the 6 foot equivalent with the Pico track. Now, so if we imagine a row of them would be there, and then here I'm going to have terminating tracks, so the fiddle yards fiddle yard will come around this way, and I'll have just 4 tracks there, which will be terminating trains. So, for example, I could have multiple units. So, for example, I can have multiple unit come around, terminate there, and then you take it outwards and stick it on the opposite track. You know, so it would start off on the inner track, go to the outer, and then go into the fiddle yard. And then when it comes back around, it goes on the outer track. So the up line instead of the down line. And the same here. I can probably get about 2. These outer tracks can get about 2 4-car EMUs in there. And this will get 3-car ones, no sweat at all. Whereas if I've got, like, you know, 2 4-car units, then they'd have to go in the middle tracks. So if I'm running the East Coast Main Line, what do you get? So intercity trains, just intercity trains. I'll have 2 East Coast Main Line intercity 125s, 2 cross country intercity 125s, and 2 Mark IV sets. Well, that takes up 6 tracks out of 10. That's not really enough. I want to have parcel trains in as well. That's going to be a couple of tracks because I've got, about 70 parcel coaches. So, and parcels is going to be a feature component of the layout. So, yeah, you're right, Kelly. I know. I've already looked at this kind of stuff, and of course, I have an advantage over Everard Junction, which is that he was operating his layout in the loft. And now that he's gone and insulated the loft, he doesn't have the temperature fluctuation problems that he had, which is a part of what caused the warping problems. So I live in a block of flats, and I don't have to worry about it. So that's not a problem for me. So really, I'll only have 2 sidings for freight trains or departmental trains or whatever. So I've decided to, if I'm going to have a helix, I'll have 2 fiddle yards, one above the other, because I can just have it continuing down, just have a junction come off and goes to different tracks. So, that's the way that I'm going to run this system. And then coming off the outer one over here will be a helix, and that will go further still, down to this level, which will be about knee height. So that's the current idea I've got behind it. But in terms of the look, I have some ideas. So in scenery and stations, and this is what I've got in mind for my little station, Stoke Newington, which is sort of on the Anglia line, not the main line. And I like the bridge. I like the insetness of it. Now, what I'll probably end up doing is not have a wall on one side, or possibly have sections of it that can fold down or be removed, so I can put cameras, or I can have like the camera marked here, so it looks like that. So, but I like the way that you've got the bridge through the middle of the station. I like the walls and the depth to it. Because one of the things that kind of gets a bit boring, really, is when you see layouts, and it can be a private layout, or it can be an exhibition layout, where they're all very flat. Everything is, it's like all the buildings are on the same layer as the the infrastructure around it is at the same layer as the platforms. So they basically started with a bit of wood and stuck on some platforms, and maybe a bridge going past it, but everything is at that layer. Whereas in this, the road is up here, the ground level is up there, and the whole station area is in a cutting. And I just love that look about it, this built-in depth. And I think that just gives a lot of room for for movement. just gives it a real sense. And also, you don't have to worry about back scenes as much, because the buildings can be the back scenes. You know, you're not actually thinking about, oh, how am I going to get that perspective in there? No, you've already got the back scene built in, you know, by just having rows of buildings and things like that just, you know, create their depth. So yeah, it's got a lot of style on it. And like I say, it's on a curve. So if we imagine that the track will go like that, you know, in terms of the layout. So like I say, I like the look of it. It's, you know, it's got a lot of style to it. And then on the section against the wall, so if you remember the, you know, up here was the fiddle yard with the station above it, and over here is the up and down section. That's where I've got that's where this comes into play. So again, I mentioned it before. I love this recessed look, and so this section of track here is the is just outside of it's just outside of Newcastle, so it's heading south, and these two tracks here are the ones that go to now let's just open it up. They're the tracks that go to Carlisle, the Newcastle Carlisle route. These are the ones that go down to London. So if I have a look here. Okay, so there's Newcastle Station, comes around here, and then it's this section here. So it's that. And it all, you know, and then this goes into a tunnel and then goes underneath, you know, so that's what that incline piece is. So it's this that I'd like to do. So this section will go into one of my helixes, that will go around the outside for the station. And then, you know, this will go into a tunnel, and then one will, you know, go down again for the other helix. So that's where this comes in. But what I love about, I mean, this picture is fantastic. We've got the, you know, the metal railings along the wall. You know, there's the stone bridge with the brick parapet walls. It's got the recesses for people to, you know, to hide in, you know, to get out of the way if a train's coming. It's got the signaling built into the wall, in, you know, on these wall brackets and things. You know, it's got so much going for it. You can see the wires that are on hooks sat on the sides, you know, line side cabinets, speed signs, all those sorts of things. So there's a lot of scope for, you know, for a lot of style to it. And of course, again, the same thing again. You don't really need a back scene. You know, everything will be embedded in it. So it just has room to just make this lovely warmth, if that makes sense. You know, it's got more stuff, it's got depth. So it all fits around that Stoke Newington style station. So yeah, I think somewhere around here I've got a picture of an HST. Those are all black and white. But there's a color one. So you can see it's got, you know, it's kind of dark and dismal, but actually, you know, you stick a brightly colored train in there, and that really does bring it out. Another thing I've noticed here, look how much oil and muck there is in the middle of the track here. So, you know, the color of the ballast here it's all brown. The whole thing is brown. So, like I say, I'm going to have, you know, get a few weeds sticking out the tops here, It can have a bit of green up on the top area here. Imagine a bit of a cutting on the outside or something. And then, but here this won't be a wall, because on the inside I want to have a parcels terminal, and that will be on one of the layers, the upper fiddle yard layer. So, because remember, the station is above the fiddle yard, the upper fiddle yard. So the inspiration I've got for that is Chelmsford Low Level, and it's a great piece of old magazine, and I just love the idea of this parcels terminal with a little roof over the top with some overhead wires on a couple of tracks. And it just comes off the main Great Eastern Line that goes up to Norwich, comes down this incline at the end of Chelmsford Station, and then just has this little this terminal. And you can see end of the station is over there, and it just comes down the hill and has this one. Yeah. So it's got 4 sidings, 1, 2, 3, and then the 4th on the outside. So the design would be, unlike this bit here where the point has been removed and it used to go on to these buffer stops here, I'll be having that continuing on for the buffer stops. So the 2 inside tracks here, I might have these all 3 of these electrified, and that one is not electrified, or maybe just the inside one here is electrified, or maybe that one and that one is. I'm not entirely sure yet, but it's so that I can bring like an 86 and a rake of 4 to 6 Mark 1 parcel coaches. So what will happen is train will come in, loco will uncouple, can run around, can either couple up and then push back into one of these 2 sidings, or I can have an 08 shunter that's parked here. So the loco comes in, the shunter comes off, takes the loco, shunts it off into one of the sidings. The coaches sticks it in one of these 2 sidings, and then the work gets done, and then it gets, the loco can then come off and couple up and then take it away. The shunter just goes and parks back up here again. So, like I say, those are the ideas that I've got for this, for the layout that I want to make. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, so let's have a look. Are there any more questions in the live chat? Okay, that's a good thing. So Kelly said dark castings do the same kind of Southern Region power bogies. The VEP ones have errors. Okay, good to know. Partway through a kit. Class 45. Been a real learning curve, and be able to take part in your Q&A, or certainly take part in the future. Good. Certainly be impressive if you've managed to pull it off. You're right. It's going to be a long thing, a long process to do. But the main part is, will I have the space for all of it? There's a real habit people have with railway modelling, and I'm probably just as guilty as everybody else, which is to cram too much in a small space. Really, I mean, if I really wanted to do it justice, I'd just have to, a bigger flat would be in order, twice the width, twice the length, and it'd be just perfect. So many problems would be solved. But unfortunately, I live on the 10th floor of a block of flats. The nearest I can get to having an extension would be to buy a Winnebago and park it outside. So that's not really possible. But, at the moment, I'm going through my flat and tidying things up. And eventually the back room, which is full of stuff at the moment, a lot of it model railway stuff, I'm going to be getting rid of a whole bunch of other stuff that I don't need anymore. And, trying to make room. So once I get other rooms, I can take stuff out of there to put stuff out of the way, and then move my model railway stuff into the kitchen in my bedroom or something, and then just keep that out of the way. Then I can get down on the ground and then draw out all the layout and exactly how it's going to be. Because, as I mentioned before, this is one of the problems that I see. in many railway modelers that they build, they sort of say, right, I'm going to build a layout, and they go and build baseboards, and then they start laying track, and then they go, oh, I wanted to put a point here, but there's a strut underneath it. I generally draw the layout, the plan on wallpaper upside down, and then once I've got the exact plan right, then I can build the baseboards to fit the track work. So if I've, if I want to have a point here, if I want to have a point there, and it's like, oh, I can't put it there, I've got to move it there, I've got to move it there. You've now gone to compromise the layout that you wanted to build. Instead, I can put the strut wherever I need, a strut to be, but it doesn't get in the way of everything. I can even put it across diagonally if I needed to. So all these things are good ways of doing it. I know what you mean, Kelly. I just haven't been able to do Templot. I just, the problem is I'm just too lazy to put the time and effort in to learn, So I've just done it an old-fashioned way. Get on the floor with wallpaper, draw it all out, get it in pencil, and then when you're happy about the way it looks, then do it in pen, and you got it done. So, and although I've got the skill to do P4 and EM, the problem is I've got so much stock that doing it would just be impractical. So, I'm just going to use Pico stuff for the depot layout, depot level, and the parcels terminal. I will use the new Pico flat bottom, bullhead rail. It'll be a lot more expensive, especially for the depot section, but it'll look far more realistic because depots pretty much always used old bullhead rail, and bullhead rail is still incredibly common around in places. I go to Manchester Piccadilly, and it's still got bullhead rail in almost all the stations platforms. So, like I say, it's it's going to be a long project, and you'll all be able to see it progress because I'll be doing it and progressing with it on this channel. So I think it'll keep people occupied for a few years, keep me occupied for a few years, which I got things that are going on in my life that the transition stuff, ousting that as the one focus in my life. Yeah, there's a document I saw which is get yourself a hobby. Well, I've already got the hobby, so I can plan on this and work on this, and while I'm doing other things. So yeah, it's pretty good. So does anybody have any other questions that that you might be interested to talk about? Anything at all? While I'm waiting, if anybody wants to put anything there, I'll just tell people what's going on, sort of with, how I'm doing. So I'm doing very well. I'm happy with how things are going for me right now. Obviously, I'm on a long waiting list to see a gender identity clinic, and that's going to be about a year. On the 13th of February, I've got a phone call coming, which is a screening appointment to get rid of the time wasters, basically. And then I'll be on the main waiting list. But in the meantime, I live like this all the time now. And a couple of weeks, not Thursday just gone, but the Thursday before, I changed my name legally. So my name is my legal name is Laura. So that was special. And it was interesting. It was amusing because my friend who helped me, do the signing, because to change your name is really, really easy. You literally have, you can write your own document and you say, new name. I get, are relinquishing my old name and will forever on now be called my new name. And then you have 4 signatures. You sign your new name, you sign away your old name, and then you get 2 friends or 2 people, to act as witnesses. And then that's it. You're done. And then you can take that to, the council or your landlord or anything like that, and just, it's easy. So when my paralegal friend helped me, she was one of the witnesses for me. When she'd finished doing the last little bit, the last dotting of the I's and crossing the T's, she handed it to me. She went, "Congratulations, it's a girl." which was fun. And I left with a warm glow and very, very happy. So, you know, might have been a cold day, but I was warm inside. So, you know, and so now this is my legal identity. Now, you know, I live like this all the time. You know, my you know, all my names, all the bits of paper that are coming in now. It's going to take a little while, like the council. I reckon it's going to take 2 weeks for them to do the paperwork to get it, you know, to pop in so that, you know, when my council tax comes, it'll have Laura on it. But other ones just, you know, no sweat at all. So, you know, and I'm feeling so much happier and more confident about myself as well. So it's given me a great boost in my mental attitude to everything. And a part of the reason why I haven't been doing much modeling lately has been because I've been focused on this kind of thing. So I know that there hasn't been a lot of modeling videos. I think you might be able to understand why now. So there doesn't seem to be any more questions coming in. But I hope you've enjoyed this. If you've enjoyed this, you know, don't forget to hit the, you know, thumb up button, because, you know, that does help get spread, you know, that people have enjoyed this and, you know, they've got something out of it maybe. So I'll be doing another question and answer session sometime soon. If you have any questions, then, you know, you can put them in the comments underneath. And, you know, next time I do this, maybe in a month's time, I don't know, maybe I'll do one every month. But, you know, people will be able to get their questions answered. As you can see, I have a mind full of knowledge of all sorts of things. I'm a vast suppository of information, and I have an even bigger depository of pictures to go with it. So I hope you've enjoyed this. So I'm going to get going now, because there doesn't seem to be any more questions being asked. And so I'm going to go with my usual little sort of A-team reference. If you have a question and no one else can help, and if you can find her, maybe you can ask the D&E girl. Didn't say that last time I did a D&E question and answer. So that's been fun. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend and a wonderful week ahead.